Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's Wednesday, and that means it's time to talk Harambe. Very excited today. We want to talk about Harambe Day and what it means and why it matters. Because Harambe Day is something that, in a way, has been celebrated in the hearts, spirits, and minds of people since 2016, but has not really been celebrated officially. And we need that to change because Harambe is a symbol of so many things that are so important for us here on Earth now and in the future. So, first, of course, everybody remembers the video that came out. It was a very tragic, a very frightening video. It's terrifying to watch, and it's a the way that it looks and appears without understanding it is a little frightening. And everybody remembers this was May 28th, 2016. Now, 2016 was somewhat overshadowed by an election, but this was an extremely important event. Now, as soon as Harambe was killed in that tragic day, which, I know the zoo wishes never happened as well. So when we talk about it, we always have to remember that everybody involved suffered and everybody lost that day. And it was a very tragic day. It's the family, the zookeepers, Harambe, imagine the kid. Just to everybody to remember, Harambe was shot by the DART team. Now, this is a team that is inside of a zoo, and they have guns everywhere. They're a team of sharpshooters, trained sharpshooters, which get approved by the sheriff's office for the local zoo. When we were investigating it, though, what we found out is they only had to have, I believe, a 70 to 75% accuracy rate to be on the DART team. So, yeah, you've got these zoos with all these kids, all these, wild animals and guns all around the zoo. They shot Harambe. They shot him once. And unfortunately, he was killed. But he was shot with a bigger shotgun, which means it was a very disturbing mess. And to think of what that kid experienced. So nobody won. So when we talk about Harambe Day, it opens a lot of wounds. But the thing is, from these wounds, we can heal, get better, and make a bigger difference for the future. That's why Harambe Day is important to us, and that's why we wanted to start it. So, hey, Mike, thank you for joining today. Great to see you on here. It's so important. Today's coming up. We have Earth Day. People always talk about the Earth on Earth Day, but we need to talk more about animals and how they are meant to be here on Earth with us. And what is their job? Everybody has a job. The animals have a job too. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today. Why gorillas need to be in the wild and why Harambe can remind us and help us get them to the wild. Hey, Maxwell, nice to see you today. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. It's always great to see everybody here. And, I love having these conversations because, very often, as we all know, we're all activists, we're all environmentalists, we're all conservationists. All of us probably talk about this. We think about it all the time, right? But, when we're around our friends and we start talking about it, sometimes you can see their eyes glaze over or they're not interested. People have varying levels of interest and feelings of what's important. So it's really nice to have this community here, this community of people that says, we're not quite sure what tomorrow may bring or what we need tomorrow, but we all know and agree that it has to be better than yesterday. And I love that. That's really cool. Very inspiring. So thank you guys for being here. Very inspirational group. We're talking about Harambe. We're finding that, Harambe Day, let's just start with the name. For those who don't know, Harambe is a Swahili word, and it means sharing, it means caring, it means pulling together and unifying for a better future and the betterment of the entire community. And the community we're talking about here is the world. Because we all know the world's sick. We all know the earth is sick. We know the world's in danger. We see it getting worse and worse every year. And here's the thing. Some people believe it's natural. Some people believe it's man-made. there is a lot of debate within that realm. But one thing that is undebatable is that gorillas are keystone species, and the fact that they have almost been fully removed from nature is causing a huge issue. And the only way that we are going to save the earth is by getting keystone species back out to where they're supposed to be, back out into the wild. And on Harambe Day, we're asking to stop these breeding programs that are designed to keep these keystone species just for display, not where they're supposed to be. So if you haven't had an opportunity to see Harambe yet, we're going to play a clip right now. I wanted to share a clip where Ian Redmond takes us through the importance of a keystone species.
And gorillas are keystone species in their habitat, by which I mean, if you think of when they build an arch, they build a wooden arch, they put the stones on top of the wooden arch, and the last stone is the one in the middle called the keystone, and then you can take the wood away and the stones stay upright. Keystones are really important. Take them away, the whole thing collapses. So applying that to the ecology of a complex ecosystem like a forest, some species are so important with so many ecologically dependent other species that if you remove that one species, the ecosystem would certainly degrade, if not completely collapse. So if we think of them as like the gardeners of the forest, they're pruning the trees, they're thinning out the vegetation.
So the gardeners of the forest, they are seed dispersal agents. They eat the food, they travel up to 1 kilometer or more a day, which they cannot do in a zoo habitat. If your nature is to walk about 1 kilometer a day and you are stuck in a space that's 1/5 of that, it's going to affect your psyche. Very, very important aspect. Second is they get it, they have their meals, they defecate, and then all of that turns into manure, turns into the fertilizer that allows all the seeds to grow. So as Ian says in the movie, to save a gorilla today is to save a tree of tomorrow. So the only way we're going to regenerate our forests is through seed dispersal agents. And that includes elephants, it includes gorillas, and a lot of other sentient animals that currently are being held captive to sell tickets. We don't know if we feel that is the way to go. So Harambe Day, the idea is we want to bring awareness. This is why we're asking everybody, if they can, to make a protest at their local zoo. Make a sign. Let the zoo know that you are not comfortable with them keeping sentient beings any longer in captivity. As a matter of fact, they've been doing some research, and they're showing that sentience now is they're able to show that it is part of every here, I want to show you guys this. It is part of every animal now. So think about this. The zoos used to be around a long time ago. Remember, there was the human zoo. So zoos are all about selling tickets. The zoos used to be around a long time ago to bring these exotic animals to a local area to make people go, wow. The same as like a bearded woman, freak show, all of those things early on were wow factors. Well, we have movies, we have 3D versions. You can actually do virtual tours into nature. So we don't need to have animals sitting in a little prison cell walking around in circles. Absolutely not. We demand that changes, and Harambe Day calls out for that. We need to use our voices to help those who don't have a voice, because they need to have a voice. They have a say in if our world will survive or not. And that is an indisputable fact. Now the idea of it is we're starting to understand sentience. We're starting to understand that it's cruel, not cute, to have animals in captivity. It is cruel on many levels. You can see it, the way that they act in the zoos. And if you haven't heard of zoochosis, or you have friends that are going to go to the zoo, tell them about zoochosis so they can start to understand the psychological damages that the animals go through.
Zoochosis. This was a word invented by my husband, Bill Travers. He was completely dedicated to examine the conditions of wild creatures in captivity. And he traveled to various zoos recording the captive situations of the wild creatures. Zoochosis was invented by him to describe the abnormal behavior of animals in zoos. Animals in captivity displayed stereotypic behavior, abnormal behavior, a psychosis of some kind. And he created this name, this word, which to me sums it up to perfection. Because I've seen in my life, as Will has and so many of us have, many, many examples of wild creatures kept in confinement, which they cannot really tolerate. It does drive them crazy.
No. So every time I see that, just really, I just can't believe we're still here, in 2024 talking about this and holding these ideas from the 1800s as if they are good ones that should be sustained. Zoos need them to be sustained because it's a business. It's just that simple. They sell tickets. The best parts of zoos, and for people that love zoos, look, there are pro-zoo, there are anti-zoo, but we are all pro-animal. And this is where we need to begin our conversation. Forget about the zoo politics and everything. The main problem with zoos is they're keeping animals from doing their jobs in nature. Number one, that is damaging our environment, our biodiversity, and our world. And we're seeing it happen. Everybody's seeing it happen around us. Number two, they are causing psychological damage to these animals by breeding them. They live in, you got to remember, you see them out in the exhibit, they live in a night house. When the exhibit's done, and they're not even out, a lot of animals will share one exhibit. Jeff Kremer talked to us about the fact that they have one or two areas where they would try to actually mix and, as a money-saving idea, use one exhibit. But if you go to the zoo, you'll see, here's who's out right now. So for every 4 gorillas you see at the Cincinnati Zoo that are out, there's double that sitting in cages in the back. Just sitting in cages in the back. So, that we got to remember what's back there. I think that's really crazy. I can't watch that. Shameful. I know, Maxwell really, really tears us up. Hey, Sierra. Hey, Sierra's on. That's great. Sierra, the producer of the movie, and my partner, amazing work that she has been able to do to create awareness about what we're doing. It's really been a challenge. The zoo has stopped us at every turn they can. They have a lot more power than you would imagine and a lot more influence on the dollars. But one thing that they cannot control, this is where things get good for all of us, right, that are activists, that are environmentalists, is they can't control the internet. Now, the internet decided that Harambe would live on forever in a meme form. And Harambe is just as strong today as he was in 2016. There's actually Bitcoins that are going out that are using his image. His image was used by, they had recently at the Frederick Nationals baseball game, they had a Harambe Day. So Harambe is still there. He's one of the number one memes that's out there. And why is that? Sierra and I were talking earlier about the fact that maybe we need to start looking at Harambe and others as our new environmental heroes. I was just watching the Becoming Cousteau documentary last night, and I'm seeing a lot of them blowing up reefs in their movies. I'm seeing a lot of environmental danger now. Damage. Now, the environmental heroes of yesterday had a different way of seeing the world, and they were a lot more destructive about nature. I think some of those older heroes we should retire and look to the future towards who are our environmental heroes. And Harambe is one of them. Harambe is one of them because he has become an international symbol of all that is wrong with captivity and a lot of other things. And the other aspect, as you can see here, everybody puts their own twist on Harambe. By the way, to the right, if you look down there, that was a Cheeto that sold for around $100,000 on eBay that looked like Harambe. But everybody puts a meaning behind Harambe, which means he speaks volumes. And one thing Harambe does is he unifies us all, just like his name. So maybe now it is the time to look at Harambe, to stop looking at Cousteau, Irwin, Attenborough, the people of the past, and the people that did a lot of amazing things for the environment, but also caused some destruction to the environment. Maybe we look at the people that were designed at the very beginning to create and save the environment, the animals that are supposed to be working there. And we start to give them a little credential because they are sentient. And we know that now. A lot of us have known that for a long time, but now the scientists are starting to prove it. So Harambe captured everyone's attention right from the very beginning. And that's why Harambe Day is a great day, because internationally, we're seeing protests that are starting up all around, because we have to keep calling attention to this. As a matter of fact, I wanted to share with everybody a little bit of what makes Harambe so special.
When I first met Harambe, lots of people knew him before I did. And like I said, he was a star before I got to know him. And people were telling me, you're really going to love him. And one of the things that people always loved about him was this beautiful heart-shaped nose he has. And they would just be so thrilled when I get a picture like this that would show the heart. He was known as Handsome Harambe.
So then
I remember looking at those photographs Jeff took of him just sitting and looking into the camera, and I don't think I've ever seen a more beautiful study. With such strength and power that, of course, should have been living in the wild.
One of the amazing things about this story is people know it's wrong now, right? But we have all learned over time, and we have adjusted how we live accordingly. For example, people now know that, you really should not go take that selfie with the dolphin. You should not ride dolphins. You should not be taking selfies with sloths. There's a lot of things where the damages are actually, the animals are very damaged by the interactions themselves, psychologically, physically, and in other ways. So we know that, but yet we have not extended this kindness and compassion to our closest living relative. We share 98% DNA. Now, granted, that 2% may have some big differences, but how can we not extend freedom and compassion and love to our closest living relative? What has gone wrong in the course of our civilizations that have brought us so far from being able to be kind? We want to bring that back. Harambe brings that back, and that's one of the things we're going to bring back. We're going to bring back change through peaceful protest and through the revolution of love and unity, just like Harambe did. So, yes, I think, we have quite a bit that we want to say with Harambe Day. So when we all tie it all together, why does Harambe Day matter? Harambe Day matters because these animals are being bred to sell tickets, and they are suffering psychological damage as a result. And people do not care. People think they're helping the animals by going there. People think that zoos are saving the animals. We always hear that they're saving the gorillas. How is breeding gorillas in captivity and trading them to other zoos conservation? We can't continue to pretend like this old business model is something important to the survival of our planet. They try to make it sound like that they're saving our world, when in fact all they're doing is breeding animals. And don't forget, that includes putting a lot of them on birth control. Gorillas at Cincinnati Zoo are on birth control. It's just a weird thing, and we live in a, it just doesn't make any sense. Like I said, the times of yesterday are over, and we have to look at the times of tomorrow. And what do we need? We need more forests. We need more trees. The animals need rights. They've been held in cages now for over 100 years in zoos. and it has to stop. It must end, and we want to see an end to it. And we're going to have Harambe Day every year to ensure that this message is not lost on the zoos and on the public, to offer the public zoochosis, offer them compassion, offer them a path to save the world through kindness instead of captivity. Kindness, not captivity. That's how we're going to save the world. And Harambe Day is one of the days you can help us do it. Now, there's many ways you can get involved. Whether you can come join us in Cincinnati at the zoo for the protest. If you can join us online, we're going to be doing educational all day. We're having an educational panel from 2 to 4 with our good friends, Jeff Kremer from the Conservation Game, as well as Mr. Tim Harrison, going to be joining us. And we're hoping to get a couple different guests from the movie to join us as well and talk a little bit more in depth. And we're also going to have Dr. Alan Goodall, who took over Diane Fossey's research center after she was murdered for her research and her work. So we really are excited to bring education. The more we can educate, the better off we are. And that is our biggest weapon we have. It's free and it's contagious. Hey, Camilla, nice to see you on here. Thank you. You know, we're very excited. The team is super excited to be continuing to get this message out as far as we can, because we're really hoping if there's any way that we can get people aware of what's happening with Harambe, what's happening with the gorillas in the wild, what's happening behind the scenes at their local zoos, people will not want to participate anymore. An educated consumer is the solution to a better future. And we can do it. You know, we just have to all keep talking to people. You know, I know Camilla is vegan, as Sarah and I, and I'm not sure about some of our other viewers, but as vegans, I know we're always trying to engage people in constructive conversations that can lead to a change. And we have to remember on Harambe Day to make all of our conversations constructive. We have to remember that even though it hurts our hearts to see these animals this way, and it burns us inside, that the people that like the zoos don't think about that aspect yet. That's all. They just haven't thought about it. They love the animals just as much as we do. The zookeepers love the animals just as much as we do. It's not a place where we have enemies. It's a place we need to have unity, right? We need to be together. We're a community. And that's what we can do. That's what we can give the animals, is one unified voice to say no more disrespect. So I think, you know, that's something important to remember, even on Harambe Day. If you can't join us, no big deal. If you can hold up a photo saying, you know, end captivity now, and just put the hashtag Harambe Day, put it up on your social media. That'll make a difference. Let's flood social media with our message, which is treat these animals with respect and dignity. Sarah says, so excited for Harambe Day. It's a day of positivity and unity for all captive sentient beings. Absolutely. Harambe Day, we talk about gorillas. We have to remember elephants, sentient. We have to remember, as we just saw in the article, everything is sentient. That means every animal in the zoo, and some people might debate this, but recent facts are showing that even insects are sentient. Everything is sentient. They all know they're being held captive. They know they're in a jar. They know they're in a box. They know they're in a cage. They know that they're being trained. Everything's controlled from day one to the very end of their lives. So they never have an opportunity to be themselves. And that's the world that people are taking children to and showing them unnatural versions of depressed animals that are just shut down. It helps nobody. And the zoos will say, you know what? The education is so important because it introduces children to care about animals. I say that is ridiculous. That's what I say about that. It's a very complicated argument, but it is ridiculous because for 100 years, if it really worked, all these animals would have been saved. But all these animals that are in the zoos are going extinct in the wild. So if that is their big argument, empirical proof, just look around, shows us it does not work. And we cannot continue to harm animals for something we know is definitely not working. We can't afford to harm them ever. We need to be their stewards. We need to save them and help them. that is our job, caretaking the best we can, but not in captivity. We need to take care of our planet. We need to clean our room up, right? As my mom would say, leave it cleaner than you found it. Maxwell Allen, Harambe Day, May 28th. Yes, I'm so excited for this. It's going to be amazing to watch everybody unifying together. Mike Waller, what type of responses do you get when you get a chance to interview zoo workers about these points? Mike, great question. Zookeepers, I think they tend to be very defensive. So it's a very challenging thing to get a dialogue with almost anybody that works in the zoo. They see us as like these rabid activists that want to destroy their lives and their futures. And it's simply not true. We share more in common with a zookeeper than, we do with a professional athlete. I mean, the zookeepers and us love animals, and we want to see them happy and healthy, loved and prospering. Now, the zookeepers happen to believe that they can offer that in a captivity environment. Us happen to believe that it can be offered by offering freedom and naturalness to it. So when I speak to zoo people, and the thing is, I love conversations. So I try to talk to as many zoo people as I can. I'm in a zoo chat. They do not like me there, but I try to get a lot more stuff. I try to mix in and really get a sense of, we have to know how to talk to each other, or we're never going to find a solution that works, to this doesn't work, this does. So, to me, it's very important that we find a way to find a bridge to create dialogue. Enrichment is a great example. Enrichment shows that the zoos know that the animals are bored, so they give them enrichment to help ease their minds. So by the very definition of enrichment and what it does and why it's there, the zoos are admitting that the animals are bored and are a little bit out of their mind. So whenever I speak to a zoo person, I'll ask about enrichment and something they're very proud of. But when I ask about the other side of that coin, they get really mad. You can't bring up the word zoochosis. They do not like that idea at all. And, again, I think the zookeepers think that what they're doing is helping save animals, which is something a sanctuary does, and it's something an NGO does. And if you look at the zoos, what are the aspects of the zoos that people are really proud of? One is when they rescue an animal, and two is their vet services. It's never, man, that exhibit, that was amazing. They had so much space and room. You don't hear that, right? So the best parts of zoos are not the zoo itself. The best parts of zoos are their financing and actually helping, as opposed to breeding and keeping animals captive that are supposed to be out in the wild. So, Mike, it's a great question. Like I said, when it comes to talking to zookeepers, I just try to stay focused on love for the animals and prosperity for the animals and the earth, and trying to find how that can happen. And I encourage anybody that that maybe works in a zoo, maybe we can engage in a dialogue. I would love to be able to talk to more people from the zoo. We've reached out multiple times to Cincinnati Zoo. They refuse to speak to us, but they do let us know they're watching, though. But they do refuse to engage in dialogue. Now, this is another reason why, and Mike, you bring this up, it's so perfect. This is another reason why Harambe Day is so important. We cannot have meaningful dialogue. And it's not our fault. The zoo won't talk to us. The AZA won't talk to us. The ZAA won't talk to us. The EAZA won't talk to us. We've tried for Thane Maynard won't talk to us. They simply ignore us and say that we are crazy. How are we going to make a meaningful dialogue with somebody that's not willing to engage in that? Then somehow we are painted as the ones that don't want to engage in the dialogue. And, all we want to do is engage in dialogue. More dialogue, more solutions, more conversations. So protests are important. We're going to take our signs. We're going to go have our voices heard for Harambe on Harambe's Day, whether it is online or at the zoo. If you can speak up, whatever you feel we need to do to save animals, to save them and put them back in the world. There's no solution. The problem is there's no solution right now. There is no solution that works, I think. The sanctuaries are about as close as we have. They do amazing work, but we still need to find a way to not allow companies to destroy everything around us. Where's our self-respect as as a species? Like, are we really going to let companies just destroy our entire environment and all of our animals and all of our natural resources so they can buy a boat or an island? Like, is it really, are we at that point now? Does that make any sense that everybody gets exploited for somebody else's profit? I don't know. I feel like we've advanced too much and we've learned too much in the last 100 years to act like it was 100 years ago. Hey, Stacy, thank you for joining us today. I see that. Oh, I'm glad you made it. Mike says, sounds like a bit of denial, because you would think that they are educated running a zoo enough to keeping them alive. But we all know part of healthcare and mental health. Exactly. They deny that the animals are sentient and have these zoochosis issues. And they know that they have them. And actually, we're going to do another show about that coming up. So it'd be great if there was more respectful and meaningful conversation. Yes. And we are really hoping we can engage in that. If we can't talk to the zoos, hopefully everybody out here hearing our message, hearing about Harambe Day, can engage in a nice conversation with a friend of theirs that might take their son or their daughter to the zoo. Stop them. Or at least teach them about zoochosis. If you teach them about zoochosis, we've done this. We teach our friends about zoochosis. They take their kids to the zoo and they make their own decision after watching animals pace and knowing that means that they are so stressed out, they can't even deal with it. And they can't go back to the zoo, because once you know the truth, you can't go back to the zoo. Stacy says, when that many zoological organizations won't engage in an opposing view, you know there's something wrong. Absolutely. Why won't they talk to us? What are they so afraid of? They're afraid of the truth. And again, I can't wait to share this with everybody, because having Tim Harrison, who worked in animal welfare and animal protection, and having Jeff Kremer, who has experience working at a zoo and working at a sanctuary, can give these two guys are going to join us on Harambe Day. That's another reason why it's all about education from 2 to 4 p.m. Join us online. We're going to have a panel discussion, Q&A. We're going to do it as a Zoom like this so everybody can get involved. And we want to educate, and we want to learn, and we want to find new ways, new approaches, new thoughts, and new solutions. And that's what Harambe is all about. Unity, solutions, and finding a positive way forward. So once again, Harambe is the perfect celebrity for this. Harambe is known worldwide. Harambe, everybody has a relationship with him that's their own, an attachment that is their own, a message and a meaning that is their own. And yet we're all unified under this one image. Like I said before, I think, and it's a very controversial idea. A lot of people don't like that I say this, but I think the heroes of yesteryear were somewhat environmentally destructive, and we should let them go. And we should look at Harambe and other sentient animals as our heroes. Lucy, trying to get Lucy the elephant out of Edmonton. The people doing the work on that are incredible. Julie and Pam and that whole crew, absolutely amazing. So remember that Harambe Day is not just about gorillas. It is about all sentient animals held in captivity, whether it's for entertainment, medical, illegal pet trade, or, it doesn't matter. It does damage to the world, to them, which ultimately does damage to all of us. So the only way to make a healthy earth is to keep all of its inhabitants healthy. We have to stop exploiting them for profit. So I can't wait to talk to you guys a little bit more about Harambe Day. We're going to be going live every day. We're going to be talking about all these different topics, because I know once we start, we branch off into a lot of different areas. There's so much to talk about. So I'd love to hear more of your questions. Let me know what your thoughts are. What does Harambe Day mean to you? How do you plan to help us celebrate? How do you plan to help us spread the message? And again, you can do it in person. You can do it online. There are so many ways to help. It doesn't cost a penny, just a couple minutes. And, that's it. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thanks, everybody, for this lively conversation. It's been amazing. Wonderful to talk to everybody. And I'm excited to talk some more. Can't wait to meet a few of you in Cincinnati. I know we have a few people coming over there. And thanks again, everybody, for joining. Have a great day. think Harambe, think about unity. Remember, we're not powerless. Together, we are the power. Have a great